to get your fix. Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready to get your fix?
With the Wicks here on this beautiful Monday, November 22nd, 2021, and welcome to the show, whether that be on Facebook or YouTube. Thanks so much for joining. If you are on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. It'd be much appreciated. I've said it the last couple times now, but I'll continue to say it. But we have got a lot to talk about today, basically because, we had a plethora of games happen yesterday, which, it's football season on Sundays. It's going to be a packed one, obviously. So, a lot to get today, like the Minnesota Vikings getting a big dub over the Green Bay Packers and the previous MVP of the league, Aaron Rodgers, who's dealing with a little bit of a toe injury, which, hey, it is what it is for him and his team getting that L there. And we also got to talk a little bit about the Colts, the Browns, the Ravens. Something's going on with the fucking Titans. I told you the Raiders were going to lose. Stuff like that. We have a lot to get to. We'll preview tonight's game as well. So let's get started. Are you ready to get your fix? Well, like I noted right away, I said it's because the Minnesota Vikings decided to get a dub yesterday. Thank God it actually happened. Basically 9 out of our 10 games this season, one possession game, or have been one possession games. And we really haven't come out on the upper hand of too many of them. We're sitting at 5-5 now on the season, sitting at 500, second in the NFC North, right behind the Green Bay Packers, in which we just beat them 34-31. Now, if you guys remember last Friday when we were talking with the guest hosts Y4 and Logan, I said, look, I guess the over-under was supposed to be like 47 points that this game was going to have total into it. I said I don't see it making that or getting to that point. I see this kind of staying under that, maybe like 20-17, a 37 point, something like that game. And the Weller said, it could be a little bit of a shootout. Well, it was. It was a fucking shootout. 65 total points scored in this game. Had no idea that was going to take place. Should have maybe assumed that, I guess you could say. But basically, this whole entire game was just kind of, back and forth, giving and taking some here and there, where both defenses really were non-existent. And that's kind of weird because the Green Bay Packers the last couple weeks, that's what we've been talking about, is their defense has been playing absolutely ridiculous, playing out of their mind, good football, even without, Jareer Alexander, without a lot of other key pieces to that defense. But they really weren't. They really didn't show up, but neither did the Minnesota Vikings defense. At first, it looked like they were kind of gonna do well in the game, and they really didn't do that. Let up quite a few yards, but so did the Green Bay's defense. But this game was entirely revolved around the offense, I guess, for both teams. Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers, he went 23 of 33, 385 yards, 4 tutties. And those 4 tutties, or I guess 3 of those tutties went to MVS and Devontae Adams, where Marquez Valdes-Scantling had 4 catches, 123 yards, had a touchdown. Devontae Adams also had 7 catches, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. So that Green Bay offense, with those stat lines, you're thinking, okay, Green Bay probably wins this game. They should win this game. It's not the case there, folks. Because of the Minnesota Vikings and what Kirk Cousins has been able to do this entire season and last night, or yesterday, I should say, where he, once again, balled out, went 24 of 35 passing, 341 yards total, and 3 passing touchdowns, which puts him now at the mark of 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions on the year. Have no idea. I think, honestly, this guy needs to be in the MVP conversation. Okay, I understand the record's not there and whatnot, but when you talk about most valuable player, and Weller kind of brought this up, or Y4 brought this up on Friday, he said, the most valuable player is who is the most valuable person. Who, if you were to take one guy off of every team, how big of an effect would that do to that team? Now, for Kirk Cousins, this year, looking like a legit, star quarterback in the NFL. You take him out of the Minnesota Vikings, I believe, this year, and I think we have a little different feel to how our season's going. Probably not as many wins and stuff like that. I understand we have weapons left and right like Dalvin Cook, Alexander Mattison, Tyler Conklin, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. I mean, we have the pieces for a quarterback to succeed. But I don't think a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL would succeed with this Vikings offense and with the way the play calling is, and how from week to week early on in the season it was just like, well, what the hell are we doing? We got to figure something out. Like, we score right away, and then after that, everything kind of flies out the window. We have nothing to do. We're like, all right, we got to get points on the board. Let's just kick a field goal here and there. Let's make it a close game. Get down to the final seconds, have to kick a field goal, and we ultimately fucking miss the field goal usually. Not the case last night. The Minnesota Vikings offense played phenomenal football, especially there at the end where we score, all right, and then it's Green Bay's ball, and it's 2 minutes and 10 seconds or 2 minutes and 12 seconds left to go in the game. Aaron Rodgers drops back, throws it to fucking Marquez Valdes-Scantling for an absolute monster of a touchdown. They scored really, really quick, which left 2 minutes and 5 seconds left on the board for the Minnesota Vikings to go out there and kind of do their thing a little bit. So at that point, the game was tied 31-31 right after Marquez Valdes-Scantling scored that massive touchdown pass that he caught from Aaron Rodgers. And then the Vikings slowly start working their way downfield. Could have had the ball turned over a couple times, and then right at the end, Kirk Cousins throws an interception. But just wait. Goes into break. Everything's kind of getting sorted out on the field. You're thinking, well, fuck, we might have just lost this game. There was pass interference there, or roughing the passer or whatever. Probably not going to be a pick, and it wasn't. So the pick ends up getting overturned. The Minnesota Vikings have the ball first and goal because of Dalvin Cook. I mean, he took off, ran. He could have scored a touchdown, decided he didn't want to pull a Todd Gurley, so he slid down real quick right in front of the end zone because, obviously you don't want to give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers with a minute and some left, 2 or 3 timeouts left. I think it was 2 timeouts left in the game. You don't want to do that because, it's fucking Aaron Rodgers. So we start just taking down the clock a little bit. They have to waste their timeouts here and there. And now we stop the time with 2 seconds on the clock, tied at 31 apiece. And Greg Joseph steps on the field. Now, I'm assuming not only did I have these reactions or these emotions, I'm sure every single one of you Minnesota Vikings fan had that emotion or had this emotion where we're sitting back or watching the game. We're like, all right, we're right here. We will be fine. We can win this game. And we have to kick a field goal, and then all of us are like, oh, all right. Like, please don't miss this. Please don't miss this. Like, just whatever you do, just kick the ball right through the uprights, please, and thank you. Please do it. And the kick is up, and it's good, and everyone's like, oh, let's go. All Twitter goes nuts. People texting people left and right. Weller thought, hey, you should see the way people are talking to me. Logan's like, the Vikings fans are acting like this is their Super Bowl. Well, guess what? Fuck you, basically, is what I'm going to say about that. Because it wasn't. It didn't feel like a Super Bowl. It was a good win. Hey, come on. Minnesota Vikings played a good game. We held on. We won the game with a last-second field goal, in which we haven't done quite a bit in the past, I should say. But if this was our Super Bowl, it was a hell of a Super Bowl to take place. But I don't think that's the case because this Minnesota Vikings team is the real deal. And I said this on True Identity Tuesday last week. I said, look, the Minnesota Vikings, they're a team that's good enough for the playoffs. But they're also bad enough to not make the playoffs. And I think we got to see that yesterday firsthand where we have the ability to beat these top 5, top 10 teams in the NFL, these teams that don't lose. But we also lose to these teams that fucking lose week in and week out every single goddamn time they step on the field. It's like we found the happy medium here, but it's like, can we just, get over the hump and fucking win a game a little bit easier than what we have the whole season? I mean, the only game that we really just knew for a fact we were actually going to win was against the Seattle Seahawks, in which their season, that's a bad football team over there. I don't know what the heck's going on. They have no defense. Russell Wilson's starting to crumble under pressure, it looks like, a little bit. His fingers starting to feel a little woozy, I think. But the Minnesota Vikings played ridiculous football last night. Justin Jefferson over 100 yards in the first quarter receiving. He ended the day with 169 yards, 2 touchdowns. Adam Thielen ended the day with 8 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. The Minnesota Vikings put together an absolute masterpiece of a game yesterday, and we got away with one, I think. And a lot of people are calling, are saying that, hey, you probably don't win this game if Rodgers' toe is 100%, if they're not missing these key pieces like Jareer Alexander, Elgin Jenkins went down, tore his ACL in that game. It's like, how about, isn't it just possible that we could win against any team in the NFL? Because it is. And I think that's been the narrative around or surrounding the entirety of the 21-22 NFL season, where it's like, we do our game picks, right, on Friday. And the games seem to go the complete opposite direction of what we actually think are going to happen. The underdogs seeming to win a lot lately, okay? And, this is the NFL, basically. You never know who the fuck's going to win on any given Sunday. You never know. Okay, and we're going to get to one of those teams here in a little bit with the Tennessee Titans and their recent loss to the Houston Texans. But hell of a win for the Minnesota Vikings yesterday against the division leader right now in the Green Bay Packers, who are sitting at 8-3 on the season. We do have to play them again on January 2nd. Shout out to Y4, that's his birthday. So we're going to go to Lambeau and get to experience the negative degree weather there. And, get myself into something I'm not sure I'm going to... No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to enjoy every second of that. I'm probably going to bundle up, wear the orange, try to figure out some fucking way to get that jersey on. I have no idea if that's going to work out because... it's hard enough getting it on with the sweatshirt. It's a little small, but it fits perfectly when it is on, so I like it, But good win for the Minnesota Vikings there yesterday over the Green Bay Packers, 34-31. The Colts, they just released their in-season of Hard Knocks last Wednesday. It was awesome. It was incredible to watch. Way better than the other Hard Knocks of training camps in the past couple years, I'd say. The Colts end up coming to take on the Buffalo Bills. And actually just fucking punched them right in the mouth. Beat the Bills. Beat the piss out of the Bills. 41-15 in a game where Jonathan Taylor rushed for 4 touchdowns, had 1 receiving touchdown. This man played out of his mind. 185 total yards, 5 total touchdowns on the day. Alvin Kamara last year had 6 total touchdowns in 1 game. So Jonathan Taylor puts himself up in some, I'd say some pretty good, company there, if you will, of running backs that have done something like that in the past. But plain and simple, what happened this game was that the Bills struggled. They couldn't get anything going offensively. Their defense was nowhere to be found, actually. I think they were left in Buffalo or at the airport or wherever the hell they were at the time. I don't know if they were ever, found since then. They were reported missing at halftime, I believe, of the game. Really just, they couldn't figure out what the heck happened. Did they miss their flight? Did they forget to pack their bags? Did they forget maybe this was not their bye week? That probably happened. Okay, because the Colts absolutely demolished the Buffalo Bills yesterday, 41-15. It did not seem like this game was going to go the way it did, so lopsided at all. I picked the Bills to win this game. just solely off the fact that, they're coming off their bye week, I believe. They're going to be looking to keep a hold of that first place in their division, in which they didn't at all. Now they're sitting at second in their division right behind the New England Patriots, who, oh my God, they've come out of nowhere playing really, really good football, getting hot at the right point in the season. But the Bills, Josh Allen, 21 of 35, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Nobody really had any yards in that entire game. Defensively, offensively, this was just a Bills team that struggled massively during the whole entire game. But the Colts, they found their guy at running back, and that's Jonathan Taylor. 5 total touchdowns, and the man is the leading rusher in the NFL, looking to actually be the leading touchdown runner or touchdown holder. I think James Conner is at this point in the season the leading rushing touchdowns leader in the NFL. So Jonathan Taylor has a little bit of room to make up to get to that point. But Jonathan Taylor is a dog. His second year in the NFL, and he is turning heads left and right. You have to stop Jonathan Taylor to beat the Colts. And I think that's very, very apparent, especially after coming out against a pretty solid Buffalo Bills team that has struggled, I guess, for the most part here the last couple weeks. But, hey, good win for the Indianapolis Colts and Jonathan Taylor. 41-15, that's a massive victory in an AFC battle to really figure out who's going to take those final 3 wild card spots in the playoffs. And I think the Colts really made a statement there. They are number 2 in their division, but hey, they could end up winning their division just like the New England Patriots are starting to do. It's very, very possible. If they start winning and getting hot, it's going to be tough to beat them. And I think Hard Knocks coming out has a lot to do and has a big factor, or was a big factor in the way they performed and the way they played, because all the hype was around them. They came out firing on all cylinders, ready to rock and roll. They beat the Bills and have a good dub on the day, 41-15. Colts get a big one there. So some other games, 2 specifically. We had the Browns and the Ravens. They hung on both for victories where the Ravens ended up beating the Bears 16-13. I believe they were down 13 to, I want to say, 13-10, I think it was at one point. And Lamar Jackson did not play in the game. He was sick, not COVID related. Don't know what the heck was happening. He just did not feel well, could not perform. So it's this Huntley guy. It wasn't Brett Huntley or any of those guys. It was, can't remember his name, to be completely honest with you. But he comes in, leads them to a game-winning drive, beating the Chicago Bears 16-13, keeping the Bears behind the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers in the NFC North. But the Ravens continue to win, and this time they did it without Lamar Jackson. Just an impressive win. That Ravens team is the real deal. Now they just got to figure out, how to keep this going, how to stay consistent the rest of the way and continue to get wins on the season. They barely hung on for the win. Also, the Browns, they went to take on the Detroit Lions, a team that was 0-8 and 1 fucking tie for some stupid reason. And the Browns struggled. Browns had a rough day. Only beat the Lions 13-10. So I'm going to read you a little bit of a Baker Mayfield's comments here. So for those of you that don't know, after the game, Baker Mayfield, you know how all the players go like this at the game, after the game, they sit down. That was a pretty good game, huh? I'm going to take some questions. Baker did not do that. Baker decided, hey, we won 13-10 over a shitty, just god-awful Lions team. I'm not gonna go talk to the media. People are just gonna start asking me all these questions that don't matter, blah blah blah. So Baker Mayfield decides I ain't gonna go talk to the media after this game, and then he said, and this was from at My Sports Update on Twitter. He explained that he skipped talking to reporters after Sunday's game because he was frustrated and wanted to get all of the emotions out first. He said, "I'd be the first to tell you, I played like shit. You did. But still, I mean, talk to reporters after a win. Ignore all those questions. All you have to do is listen. We got the win. Next question. We got the win. Next question. Just ignore them. Like, you don't have to answer. You just have to be there. You just have to be present. Do something. They're really just going to try to get a little spark out of you. And I think that's maybe the reason why he didn't want to sit there and talk to reporters. But then there's this. During the game, apparently, the fans started booing him, right? So, at My Sports Update on Twitter says, hashtag Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield on fans booing him during Sunday's game. Those are probably the same fans who won't be quiet when we're on offense and trying to operate. So I don't really care. You just sound like a fucking crybaby to me. Like, who gives a shit? Like, you're really worried about that? Like, oh, they were too loud. We couldn't hear in the huddle. We were trying to operate, and hey, I don't care. Just do your thing. No, dude. Like, I mean, it's football. It's gonna be fucking loud in a goddamn stadium filled with 30,000 plus fans in there. Like, get over it. When you go like this, trying to calm them down like Derek Carr did with the Raiders the first time, I get it. Sometimes you just can't fucking hear. What if that's a playoff game? What if that is a playoff game? Oh, there's probably the same fans that won't be quiet when we're on offense, trying to operate. If that's in the playoffs, you're going to lose. Like, if that affects you, you're going to lose. Like, plain and simple, the Browns, Baker, you can say what you want about him. I'm on the edge. Like, there's some things I like about this guy. He was able to, my first year doing this, right? There was a lot of him, talking shit to the medical staff, telling them how to do their job and doing all this bullshit and nonsense, acting really, really immature when he really had no right to be. But then he starts coming out, all right? He starts answering mature questions, or answering questions maturely, I should say. I don't know how you want to put that, but starts acting a little bit like a grown-up. So I'm like, okay, like I like this Baker. This is the Baker that the Cleveland Browns need. This is the Baker that the NFL needs. Not some immature little whiny bitch, basically, is what I want to say. But now this. Like, it's the NFL. Get over it. You got a dub. Who cares? You won 13-10. You beat a very, very bad, and I'm talking very bad Lions team, going to be last in my power rankings just because the Houston Texans got a dub, but you gotta win. Like, shouldn't you be happy? But at this moment in time, you're like, dude, fuck those fans. Like, those are probably the fans that, just wouldn't shut up when we're on offense. We're trying to work here. Like, I get it. Sometimes, you get the offense or the crowd has to be quiet during offense. It's just part of the game. But most of the time, that all starts with how your offense is playing. If your offense is going to go out there, you're going to throw for 300 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Your running back's going to have 100 plus yards. Your receivers are going to have, 50, 60 plus receiving yards, a touchdown here and there, and you're rolling, then they're going to be quiet. They're going to respect you a little bit more. But when you go out there, barely get a win against the Lions, go out there and really have been shitty this season. Like, your record, I get it. What is it? The NFC or the AFC North. It's up for grabs. You got the Ravens at 7-3, the Bengals at 6-4, the Pittsburgh Steelers at 5-4-1, and then you got the Cleveland Browns at 6-5. They've literally shit their season away, and I get it. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt have been out. Jarvis Landry has missed some times. You had the whole Odell Beckham situation. Your defense is still there, right? Okay, figure that out. But now you got to figure out how to take that offense, mold it into something that you want it to be, that you can succeed in, and go from there. Your crowd's going to be loud as they want because they don't respect the offense. Like, you want us to be quiet? You're not making any noise, so we have to make some noise. Basically is what's going on. Go out there, put points on the board, secure a dub. Like, I'm talking secure a dub. Otherwise, those fans are going to continue to be loud and obnoxious because, like I just said, you're not making any noise, so the fans might as well. That is basically, that's plain and simple how I feel about that. But the Browns got away with a win. They did. Okay, it was a close one, 13-10 over a very, very bad Detroit Lions team. But right now they sit last in their division. They're not making any noise. So like I said, it's the fans' time to make some noise. Who cares? Like, I don't know. It is what it is. Enough on Baker. Enough on the Browns. They got a nice dub. That's all I'm saying. Right? But Baker just needs to be a little bit more mature about the whole entire situation and realizing why the fans aren't being quiet when they're on offense. Okay? That's just how I'm looking at it. You guys can look at it and take it however you want and have your own opinions on it, but that is my opinion. That is how I took it. So let's move on with what the hell, Tennessee? Like, the Tennessee Titans come in. They're 8-3 on the season. They're number 1 in the AFC. They're rolling. They have found their spunk. Have started the most players on their roster in the NFL with 80 total players getting to see the field on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays. Well, they have the Houston Texans, or they go to the Houston Texans or whatever it was. They come to town, and the Texans say, hey, we're in the division with you. Hope you didn't forget about us. And end up beating the Tennessee Titans 22-13. And I mean, it was just, that was a really big upset that happened this week with the Texans over the Titans. I mean, Tannehill threw 4 interceptions. They did not look good offensively. They did not look good defensively. And the Titans are starting to struggle, I think, a little bit. All right, the Titans have 3 losses this year. They're 8-3. Their losses come off their first one of the season, the very first game, to the Cardinals. And then they lose to the Jets later on in the season. And then now they lose to the Texans. They beat good teams. They beat okay teams. But for some fucking reason, they can't beat the bad teams. They just can't figure out how the hell and to beat 2 of the top 3 worst teams in the NFL, basically, is how I'm trying to put this. So I have no idea what's going on with Tennessee, other than they're starting to struggle. They have to figure it out, and they're missing Derrick Henry in a big way. I honestly believe that. If Derrick Henry's in this game, they win that one. Honestly, like 100%, I think so. But for the Houston Texans, earlier in the year when they first started the season, their first 2 or 3 games, they were looking pretty good. This was a weirdly solid Texans team. Like, they were starting to make things happen. They were starting to make a little bit of some noise here and there. Their offense was clicking a little bit, and that's thanks to one man. And that one man played last night in his coming back game against the Tennessee Titans and got a big win. That man is Tyrod fucking Taylor. Tyrod Taylor and the Houston Texans that's a great fit for him. Like, that is unbelievable what he has been able to do there, bringing that team together. I mean, he is a really good quarterback. He is one of those quarterbacks that you look at and you're like, well, he's not that good. You know, he's whatever. But he's damn good. This guy takes the team, who might be all kerfuffled or whatever you want to say, just all over the place, not looking that solid, and says, let's play together as a team. Let's get this. Let's do our best. Let's come together. Let's try to go out there and get a win. And they did. 22-13 over the number 1 seed, Tennessee Titans. Tyrod Taylor, hell yeah, hell of a career for this dude. I mean, he goes in there and he balls out and he does the best he can. And he's one of those guys that you really, really count on to go out there and play 110% every single Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Tyrod Taylor is a good fit for the Houston Texans, but then you also look at it like this. Is it just Tyrod? Or is it if they get a good quarterback or a somewhat of a good quarterback, the Houston Texans can make some noise? Because Deshaun Watson was the only thing on that team that kept him afloat, kept him or put him into a couple playoff appearances. Now they got Tyrod. He's able to win some games here and there for the Texans. I mean, they're a system that's a team that's they're kind of all over the place. They're one of the worst in the NFL, but they have a really, really good leader, and I think Tyrod Taylor is going to continue to be that leader for them and continue to have a pretty solid finish to their season. At least that's what I'm thinking and hoping in my minds. But what the hell, Tennessee? I mean, they have to figure something out, especially with Derrick Henry being out. A.J. Brown's kind of been banged up here and there. It's a mess, but I think it's a mess that they can clean up. It also just puts into perspective, like, if this team goes to the playoffs, do they make a run? I don't think so, but it's very possible because they could all of a sudden start clicking on all the right cylinders and stuff like that. But they got beat by a bad team, 22-13 to the Houston Texans. So good for Tyrod, good for the Texans organization, bad for the Tennessee Titans, who now sit at 8-3. So now let's shift gears and go talk about the NFC East. I believe is what it is. Let me go just take a gander real quick. So yeah, the NFC East. We have the Dallas Cowboys sitting at 7-3 on the season. And we have the Philadelphia Eagles sitting at 5-6. And we got the Washington football team sitting at 4-6. And at last we have the New York Giants sitting at 3-6. Dude, the Eagles, they have a late. So they go out yesterday against the New Orleans Saints and say, how's it going? Keep it moving. They beat them 40-29 in a game where Jalen Hurts was their running back and their quarterback. Jalen Hurts had 3 rushing touchdowns. And, I mean, this team is starting to get hot at the right moment. Their last games, and the reason why I say they have a chance and have a legitimate chance of winning their division is because of this. And I noted this before the season started, where basically this entire division has all their division games at their last 6 or 5 of the season, right? Well, the Eagles, their last stretch of games, go the Giants. They'll probably win that one. Then they got the Jets. Probably win that one. Now they'd be 7-6. Then they got a bye, and then they play the Washington football team. That'll be a good game. I still think Philadelphia wins that one. They're sitting at 8-6. And they got the Giants. They're going to win. 9-6. And they got the Washington football team. I still think the Eagles are going to win that one again. And you're looking at 10-6. And then the last game of the season, which might be the deciding factor to see who wins and who is the division champion of the NFC East. The Eagles play the Dallas Cowboys the last game of the season. The Eagles already lost 41-21 to the Cowboys earlier in the season. But the way things have been going, hey, the Eagles could do it. The Eagles could make the playoffs. The Eagles could win their division. It's a big reality right now. And I think a lot of us are kind of blind to that. Like, oh yeah, their record is 5-6. This is not. I mean, that's not a good team. But they're playing like a good team. Their defense isn't there. Their offense is though. And their defense is starting to find, little things here and there that actually work and can actually slow down the opposing offense so that their offense is able to go out there and put points on the board and get a win and ultimately hold on to the victory. But the Eagles are on a roll as of late, and I'm liking it. I understand their coach, Nick Sirianni, wants their corn to pop up in rows, and he's got to water the roots and make the roots, get bigger because that just means the tree grows stronger. And it is what it is, but I'm telling you, the Eagles are a legitimate contender for their division and for the playoff berth. They really are. I know their record doesn't say that, but I think we got to all kind of start eyeing the Eagles as this team that They're good. They're good enough, but they're also bad enough not to do the things I just know to win their division, go to the playoffs and stuff like that. They're a really hit and miss team. And you could say that, yeah, they only beat the Saints because Trevor Siemian was their quarterback and the Saints are banged up, didn't have Alvin Kamara, didn't have blah, blah, blah. It's like they still have their defense. A very good defense. And Philadelphia was able to go out there and do whatever the hell they wanted. Put up 40 points. Beat them 40-29. This Eagles team, they're getting hot. And they could have a chance of winning their division in the NFC East. Now, the Cowboys are 7-3. So, I mean, if the Cowboys continue to win, there's no way, obviously. But it could happen. Okay? Because the Cowboys just lost the fucking Chiefs in a very, very shitty game. Same kind of game that Cardinals, Seahawks had, just a low-scoring, nothing really happening type of game. The Cowboys lose 19-9 against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're still first in their division in the NFC East. But the Chiefs are also now number one in the AFC West, sitting at 7-4. Are the Chiefs back, huh? Are the Chiefs finally back? I mean, it might be. They got the Broncos in their division, a team that who knows what the heck's going to happen. They can hit on some cylinders and not on the other. Then you got the Chargers. They're a good team. All right, they just won yesterday, and electrifying. I'm talking one hell of a Sunday night football game there last night. We'll get to that here in a bit. And then they got, I mean, you can call them the Raiders, but, I mean, they're just literally a team that has nothing. They've all just fallen apart, and I mean, are the Chiefs actually back? They're going to make the playoffs. I mean, it's just plain and simple. They're going to make the playoffs now. They're not going to win. They're not going to go to a Super Bowl. If they do, hey, kudos to them. They're not. Prescott struggled for the Cowboys, 2 interceptions, but the Chiefs, their defense is starting to pick it up a little bit, starting to play better football, and that was a big knock on them early in the season. Like, they don't have a defense. Their defense really can't figure out anything, can't figure out how to stop opposing teams from putting points on the board. Patrick Mahomes is still struggling. Sad to say. I think he had a touchdown and an interception yesterday. I mean, literally the whole game was just back and forth of teams that really couldn't do shit. And I think that's what really kind of scares me about the Chiefs, is because if you stop Tyreek Hill or if you stop Travis Kelce, one of the two, the Chiefs are kind of like, oh no, like, what do we do? Like, hold on, don't panic. What do we do? Give it to the running back? Throw it to Travis Kelce? Oh no, he's covered. Oh shit. Where's Travis? Or not Travis. Where's Tyreek? Oh, he's covered. Okay. And then they kind of just, Patrick Mahomes is like, all right, let's just make a throw. Makes a throw and it's picked off or it's incomplete and it just looks sloppy. It's a sloppy offense. It's a very, very sloppy offense. The defense has been cleaned up a little bit. Hopefully they're able to keep that going. But I mean, look, this Chiefs team is still, they just, something just doesn't seem right over there. It just does not feel like the Chiefs of the past 2 years, if you know what I'm saying. Like, something just doesn't seem right in that organization. The offense is just all over the place. Nobody seems to be on the same page. And when it is, it's because, I mean, Tyreek Hill just goes on a fly route and Patrick Mahomes just hits him, or Travis Kelce just quickly comes across the middle for a 5, 10, 15-yard gain here and there. And then the rest of the way, it's like, well, I just got to find my receivers. Hopefully they catch the ball and whatnot. But good win for the Chiefs at 19-9. And like I said about their division, they're first in the division at 7-4, okay, with the Broncos and Chargers right there. And then a team that I told you was going to lose. I sat here on Fantasy Football Friday and said, you know, I have the Bengals winning. I just don't see the Raiders winning the rest of the season. I just don't see that happening. From having the IRS being involved to having multiple emails come out, and then having to fire their head coach, John Gruden. Then their wide receiver decides to drive 156 miles an hour in Las Vegas gets in an accident, ends up taking a life, gets prison time, hasn't even been sorted out yet. He's facing like 50 years in prison, minimum, or I think something, or maximum 50 years max, something like that. Then your defensive back decides to be a gangbanger, throwing his guns around on Instagram. We just up, you know what I'm saying? Like, this team is completely falling apart. They've lost, I want to say, the past 3 weeks since this whole ordeal kind of went down. They lost to the Chiefs, they lost to the Giants, and now they get demolished by the Cincinnati Bengals after the Bengals had a rough week before the bye, and then they're coming off their bye, and they beat the Raiders 32-13. Joe Mixon had an outstanding day, 30 rushes for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. That was basically the whole offense there for Cincinnati. Just give it to Joe. Just give it to Mr. Mixon, and he'll get the job done. Like, that's basically what you need to do, because the Raiders have no fucking clue what they're doing. They have no idea. Derek Carr struggled. That whole offense struggled. Their defense played like shit. The Las Vegas Raiders team plays like shit. And that has been the case basically since, John Gruden got fired. One thing after another just continues to happen. It sucks for interim head coach Richie Bisaccia, but don't expect the Raiders to win this year. Like, unless it's the Jets, maybe. Unless it's the Texans, maybe. Unless it's the Lions, maybe. Because none of these guys are together. Like, this is a team that has completely fallen apart. No chemistry at all between anybody. Like, Derek Carr is the only thing trying to keep that team afloat. I mean, Darren Waller had a day, 116 yards receiving, no touchdowns. How does that happen? How do you not find your tight end in the red zone? How do you not find him in the end zone, is what I'm trying to say. It is what it is, but the Raiders are a bad, bad football team at this point in time, and I would not expect them to get any better. Like, something drastic has to happen for this team to actually come together and play like a team in the NFL. And I just, with all this going around, all this nonsense, they literally just need to hit the reset button and wait for next year. That's kind of how I feel this is what's going to happen and how it has been happening. I mean, they lose Chiefs, Giants, Bengals. I mean, you guys can take with that information what you will, and you could be, if you're a Raiders fan out there, you could be like, oh no, we're fine, don't worry about it. Like, I mean, it's just a couple things here and there. No, there's just no fixing what happened, and I'll say it again. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The move from Oakland to Las Vegas probably will go down as the worst relocation in history. I understand the whole St. Louis Rams to the Los Angeles Rams situation. That is a whole ordeal in itself. I don't think that's a bad move because the Rams sell fucking more tickets than the Chargers. I mean, hell, the Chargers basically played an away game at home last night. There was more terrible towels there than Chargers jersey, like, in the whole stadium. Like, any Charger memorabilia in that entire stadium was outnumbered by the fucking terrible towels just get waved around there last night. Sunday Night Football was fucking electric, and if you didn't watch it, sucks to be you, like, basically. I mean, that was an absolute banger of a game, if you will. I mean, the Chargers, they're up 27-10 going into the fourth quarter. It's game over. That's a 17.3 possession game. It's over. Like, I even thought about it. I was like, I'm getting tired. I want to go watch some Netflix, go to bed. And then I thought about it. I was like, this is the NFL. Like, anything can happen. So I stayed up, watched the whole game unfold. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is good, put up 27 points in the fourth quarter. They took what Chargers did in 3 quarters and did it in 1. Makes you think, what's going on with the Steelers? Like, they should be able to do that I guess not every single game, obviously, but they should be able to do that game, like, depending on the game here and there. They should be able to do that every once in a while. Ultimately, they put up those 27 points. They end up taking the lead, okay, over the Chargers. I believe at this point it was 34 to 37. 34 to 37, the Chargers are all of a sudden losing. Let the Steelers sneak back into the game. Justin Herbert has a last final drive to see what he's really made of his second year in the NFL, and he goes down, leads the Chargers to a game-winning drive, ultimately comes away victorious 41 to 37 against the Pittsburgh Steelers in a game where Big Ben played pretty solid, 28 of 44, 273, 3 touchdowns on the day, but Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler, one hell of a performance by you guys. One hell of a job. Herbert, 30 of 41, 382 yards, that is. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was also their leading rusher with 9 rushing attempts for 90 yards. But their real, legitimate weapon just happens to be Austin Eckler, and this man is a fucking stud. Try to do or emulate or fucking do exactly what Jonathan Taylor did for the Colts, where he put up 5 total touchdowns, had 185 yards rushing. Well, Austin Eckler said, "No, hold on. Let me do what I do best." So he goes out there, he only rushes 11 times, but he gets 50 yards. Has 2 touchdowns. Then he goes and has 6 catches for 65 yards. So 115 total yards on the day. And 2 touchdowns receiving. He has 4 total touchdowns, 115 yards on the day. On 17 touches. Compared to, I think, Taylor's like 30-something touches or something like that. Like, Austin Eckler is a guy. Like, this man, last night was absolutely electrifying. Like I said, I thought the Chargers were going to win. 27-10 going into the fourth quarter. It's pretty much like, okay, the Chargers had the ball to begin the quarter. It was over. And the Steelers just started climbing their way back into the things and took the lead at one point. Ultimately came up short, and that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But it was a very, very good game, I think, from both sides of the ball. The Chargers have to play better defense late in games because I think at least the last couple weeks in the third and fourth quarter, they kind of they start to slow down. Their production starts to decrease a little bit, and they're not a good football team. But they were good enough last night. They got the win ultimately, 41-37, in just an absolute shootout of a game. It was awesome to watch. I mean, you could say the game was drunk, basically. I mean, you never knew what the fuck was going to happen. And anything that didn't or shouldn't have happened really happened that game. That was a good Sunday night football game. It was electrifying. I'm pumped. That makes me think tonight's game won't be electrifying. I'm just telling you, it's not going to be. Tonight's game is the New York Giants taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home for the Buccaneers here. The Bucs are going to win. I mean, what else do I want me to say? That's exactly what Y4 and Logan both said, just like I did just now on Fantasy Football Friday, where we made our game picks, right? Bucs are going to win this one. I mean, the Giants are a team that no defense. They lost Saquon Barkley again. Daniel Jones might not be the guy there. Kadarius Toney starting to show that he has some pretty good ability over there at the wide receiver position. But Tampa Bay has been playing some sloppy fucking football as of late. And I don't think that's going to be the case here, especially when they're at home. It's a Monday night game. It's prime time. Brady's going to be ready to rock and roll. Hopefully, things go as planned and the Bucs come away victorious. Like I said, I wouldn't expect much other than the Buccaneers to get a big win here. They might make it a game. The Giants might make it a game. Okay, they did to the Chiefs, but the Chiefs, I mean it's a whole nother conversation. But they might be back. Hey, they're number 1 in their division. But tonight's game, Bucs Giants, I just don't think the Giants are going to be able to do it. Bucs are probably going to get a win. There tonight, and I did forget to announce this last Monday, but there's going to be 2 separate podcasts, obviously, the original one with Louis Riddick, Steve Levy, and Brian Greasy. That'll be the original broadcast on ESPN, but then the Manning cast is on ESPN too. That's the one I like to watch. just because it is. It's like a podcast basically. It is what it is. It's like a show. You get to. I mean, you're not really gonna be watching the game that much. Like you're gonna still see it, but you get to hear a lot of the conversations between Eli and Peyton and all their guests that come on, and it's just it's a big experience. Like it's a great experience. You get to see all these or hear all these different stories, why they think the way they do. Kind of get to pick the mind and the brain of Peyton and Eli and their historical careers and why quarterbacks are doing what they're doing today and in the game and stuff like that. It's awesome to watch. I absolutely think it's electric. It is awesome. There's jokes here and there, but I'm going to go try and find their guests because every week they have guests. They have 4 guests. Still think that's too much. I think they need 2 guests would be awesome. Have one in the first half, one in the second half. Because even last week, I think it was Al Michaels. He was their first guest, and they couldn't get things working. Basically what happens, the first quarter flew by. Like, there's no timeouts. Time kept running, and they got Al Michaels in there with, 2 minutes left to go in the first period, basically. So they have to figure that out a little bit. The way they talk to each other, a lot of talking over each other is really what kind of goes down in those situations. But for tonight, see if I can fucking find this damn thing. So tonight's guest, if I can find this. I know for a fact it's Condoleezza Rice. Kevin Hart is in there. There was another 1 or 2 people that are going to be on the Manning cast, but it's going to be electric, I think. I think it's going to be a fun one. Let's go see if I can see it here. This is on there, so it'll be fun. Hope you guys watch the game. It does start at 7:20, so in an hour. That's perfect for all of us to kind of get settled in and ready for some Monday Night Football. But that is going to do it for today's show. Like I said, we had a lot to get through. We got through all of it. Could have said more, could have done more, but that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. So with that being said, go have the rest, or a great rest of your Monday night. Watch some football with the Bucs taking on the New York Giants. Thank you guys so much. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook, have a great one. And hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. And you just got your fix with the Wicks. Have a good one, guys. See you later.